We heard in the press conference there executives from both Nissan and Renault saying, look, this is a new start for the alliance. It's going to inject new momentum. The question, of course, for many will be, the ties have been weakened as a result of the capital changes, the shareholding changes. Is that a contradiction? Explain for us how this reboots the alliance and how you look through that contradiction, at least as it seems to some.
Look, I think that we took the problem from the other side, right? So a lot of discussion has been going on in the last years about the governance, but in fact, we took the problem with Uchida-san from the basic operation and the potential of business that lies in the cooperation. So from the bottom, and so I think that this new deal is based on business opportunities. That's one thing, and simple, clear rule. As a consequence of the whole thing, not as an objective of the whole discussion, was the idea of going back to a normal governance scheme between two companies having cross-shareholding participation, because we had I would say, a very baroque way of handling the governance issue with a company like Nissan having 15% of Renault without having any right, and we, on the other side, having 43.4% of Nissan having no right. So right now it's 15-15. I mean, it's going to be like this in the next, we're going to prepare that, and that's the destination, but we will be eye on eye, and it will be just a simple normal governance scheme. So I think it will help also the operation and the conversation.
Okay, Mr. Uchida, I'll bring you in at this point. The marriage analogy has been made around this alliance. It was made again today. Some analysts, some investors saying, look, this could be a renewal of vows between the two companies, or it could be the first step towards a divorce. What is your response to that?
No, as Luca mentioned, let me add some of the comment, because if you look at our business circumstances today, right, world market is in a fragmentation, and we need to make our value proposition to be demonstrated in each market. So how we can make our alliance to be a next stage was the first discussion I had with Luca back in May, if I'm not mistaken, and we have been sharing how we can make our value of each company to be present. And of course, Luca has his own Renaulution as a Renault strategy, and therefore he's going for the Ampere. And we, as a Nissan, also have our own strategy. And how we can maximize all those together was the initial discussion. So what I would like to say is we should not be staying at the past way for our future growth. And that's not where the automotive industry is working right now. So this has matched. And I think these circumstances made us to move on that way, and how we can make more collaboration to be much better. So it's going to be more stronger is my message that I can give.
Okay, and look, to those who say, look, Renault and the French state, frankly, have given away too much in this deal. How do you reply to that?
No, I think that we got the support of also the French state, which is one of our major shareholders, because they understood that we had to move on. And so in fact, the previous governance that was decided in a way had an impact on the operation. So I'm the CEO, so I look at the business. I look at the business opportunity. So we have been fighting to propose something where everybody could see, any stakeholder could see, that the future would be better than the last 3 or 4 years or 5 years, based on the project that we have agreed to get. Now, of course, we have to execute them one after the other. But they are not rocket science. Sometimes they are, it's a deal on the market, it's a deal on the technology, on the platform. But what we have announced today in terms of business project and opportunity is much bigger than what we have ever done, at least in the last 10 years, from a pure business value creation point of view. And that's the most important thing. I mean, then they can say whatever they want, but we are here to develop the business and create value for our shareholders and stakeholders.
And an important part of the shareholder structure change is, of course, putting that 28%, Renault's 28% stake, part of that stake, 28% into a trust. Mr. Uchida, do you buy those shares back? What prism, what are you looking at in terms of your determination, in terms of when you buy those shares back, over what time frame?
Again, I really would like to emphasize again, we're going to make an equal partnership in order for us to grow together. That comes the first priority. Then, of course, our partner has their economical rights through this trustee. And, of course, my job is how I can make my Nissan share price at the right level in order for my partner to be satisfied, right? So the entire thing has been discussed on that manner.
Okay, and in terms, let me follow up in terms of your investment in Ampere, which is the electric vehicle unit of Renault, which we've heard you may want to list later this year, and maybe I'll get to a question on that. How much do you want to be investing in Ampere? Up to 15%. Where does that take you? What do you need to be looking at to make that determination as to how much you invest in Renault's EV unit?
Yeah, first I really would like to see how the Luca is going to make this Ampere to be more attractive for me. All right, so.
I will.
Yeah, you will. He will. And we say that I'm going to be a strategic partner, as we are today with the partner. So when he wants to do the new business in, let's say, in Europe, we can get a lot of opportunities through his new era of Renault transforming more further on this Ampere business, that there's a lot of opportunity that we can build. So we are saying that up to 15% as the initial we're talking about here. And of course, he would demonstrate me a lot to make it more attractive.
Okay, there have been concerns, non-executive directors at Nissan concerned about intellectual property and whether some of that leaks to Geely, which is going to be a partner for Renault going forward. How did you address those concerns around intellectual property?
Well, intellectual property for the both company, it is very valuable for us, okay? Then we do have a lot of co-owned intellectual property that we have been making together for the past 23 years. And of course, there's a different transformation of the company structure that he is doing for his powertrain. Then we have to go through every single items to make it fair for the both company. As simple as that for me.
Luca De Meo, let's bring you in at this point in terms of execution, because it's what, a year since I think you announced how you're going to be restructuring the Renault business, and then of course we've got to a point now we've signed off on this deal around the alliance. There'll be those who look back at the past and say it took too long to execute, and maybe you'll agree with that. Does this allow you to execute more quickly? Are the lags, the delays, the indecision of the past, has that been put to bed now?
I think I'm Renault since July 2020. I think we executed one of the most, let's say, brutal and effective restructuring project in the automotive industry in the last couple of decades. You just look at the numbers. We are parallelly developed probably the most attractive lineup of products that will come from now to 2025 for all the brands. We have presented a strategy for, up to 2030 with the Revolution and Revolution phase. So all the things that we're discussing, Ampere, Horse, Alpine, Future is neutral, etc. So I don't think we've been sleeping at all or been slow into that. Actually, I think there is a very, very strong dynamic at Renault. We started with Uchida-san in May to discuss about how to revamp the alliance. For me, my mainstream or my focus is obviously let's say, the strategy, execution of the strategy of Renault, and I look at the alliance as an opportunity. Now I can clearly see it because we have very, very concrete projects, and I don't think we have been, let's say, so slow because this thing has been blocked for, locked for 4 or 5 years, and in a matter of 6-8 months, we actually find the key, I think, and the solution.
Okay, very briefly, before we let you go, Mr. Uchida, do you see demand, how much more demand do you see coming back as those supply chain constraints ease?
Supply constraint is?
Yeah, and how much demand is coming back as a result of that?
Well, I would say that, of course, we really need to carefully to monitor on this coming physical year of 2023, because I always say that world now is become very difficult and challenging. Who ever thought about it if you're 1 year ago, right? What has been happening only this 1 year? So we need to be anticipated, we need to be prepared, and hope how we can make our value of the company to be in the pace of...
We're running up against a hard break, so I have to leave it here.